When the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran February 28th, Iran responded with its own missiles and drones, hitting Israel and U.S. bases, but also Gulf Arab countries, a fuel depot at Kuwait Airport, an oil refinery in Bahrain, a luxury hotel in Dubai. One of the questions as we enter week 2 of the conflict, how much of its arsenal does Iran have left?
Before the war, they were estimated to have around 2,000 or more medium-range ballistic missiles, that is, missiles that Iran could fire from its own territory to hit Israel, and about 400-plus launchers.
Israel and the U.S. claim to have destroyed hundreds of those missiles and launchers, as well as manufacturing facilities. But Iran has a significant shorter-range missile stockpile, and that number is harder to estimate. Those are missiles that travel a few hundred kilometers and can hit U.S. bases and other targets in the Arabian Gulf. Their number perhaps still in the thousands, according to experts we spoke with, and are sometimes challenging to target from the air.
Now, if it is on the surface, if it is not hardened, then that's going to be much easier to target. But a lot of this stuff, the Iranians, learning from their friends, the North Koreans, have put underground.
Could Iran get help from countries like Russia and China, known diplomatic allies, but their willingness to help Iran militarily still unclear? In an NBC interview Sunday, the Iranian foreign minister says that's the hope.
Military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not something new. It's not a secret. It has been in the past and is still there and will continue in the future.
Another weapon that has become a mainstay of modern warfare, the unsophisticated but lethal drone, a classic feature of so-called asymmetric warfare, in which the weaker side uses cheaper weapons to hit unconventional targets like fuel tanks or airports.
There are suicide drones, which Iran calls them, or typically called one-way attack drones, that are used to attack fixed or mobile land-based targets. But Iran has also significant capabilities in terms of anti-ship drones.
And though Iran is burning through its missiles and drones, countries across the region are depleting their expensive air defense interceptors, while the U.S. and Israel are spending hundreds of millions per day on their war against Iran. How quickly those assets are used up could also shape the war's trajectory.
And Hala joins us now. Hala, why is it so hard to estimate how many missiles and drones Iran may have left?
Well, we say in the piece, and according to experts we've spoken to, that Iran may have manufacturing and storage facilities underground. And also, this is not something that they prepared for just a few weeks ago. They have certainly been anticipating that at some point they will be using their drones and their short-range missiles. And what they're doing now is, and we alluded to this in the piece as well, Tom, is this is a typical feature of asymmetric warfare. In other words, it doesn't take much $20,000 drones to hit a storage facility or a desalination plant, and essentially you are really increasing the cost of this war for Gulf allies of the United States in the region, Tom.
Yeah, I was also reading that Ukraine is offering help to the United States and some of the allies in the United States to ward off those strikes, if you will, the drone strikes from Iran.
Well, Ukraine has become an absolute expert in the use of drones against Russia. Russia, of course, invaded Ukraine in 2022. Russia is the much more sophisticated and stronger military force compared to Ukraine, so they have the kind of expertise that certainly the United States could use.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.